The Logitech C920 has been the go-to for streamers and beginning content creators for years. But is it still the best option? I'm not so sure anymore. I recently did some research into some budget action cameras. That's right, the GoPros of the world. And I think I may have found a better option. Let's check it out. And here is the C920, the industry standard of Twitch streaming. Now, this is a solid camera, I'm not gonna lie. There's a reason why so many people use this camera, but it does have a few flaws. Number one being it doesn't have a great field of view. It's very narrow. You really lose a lot of the sides, and really if you want to make this a full screen video, you have to blow it up huge, and it really pixelates and starts to get grainy the bigger you make it. Of course, I mean that's just how video works. However, as a small video down in the corner, or potentially using it as a green screen cam, it does work well. The second, and I would consider larger issue, lies in the software. Now, you do have the option to configure video in OBS, and I'm sure in other streaming programs as well, and have some control over the editing that way. However, that doesn't always save to the webcam. Now, you think you could download Logitech's own software and it would actually save settings. That also is not always the case. Logitech's software is incredibly buggy. They're almost notoriously bad for their software. They make great gadgets, like their mouse and keyboards and everything is fantastic, but they just can't seem to nail down the software. The same is true for the webcam, especially if you're trying to use more than one webcam. I actually experienced this issue when I was using two C920s. One as my main cam and one as my record cam. Never saved the settings. I could never differentiate between the two. It was just a mess. Honestly, that is one of the main reasons why I even made the switch to DSLR and started looking for a replacement for the C920. But you're all familiar with the C920 for the most part. I mean, it's everywhere. Everyone talks about it. Let's jump into the real reason why we're making this video, the action cam. And here is the action cam. Now, I did a lot of research into cams, and the one I ended up going with, for a few reasons that we'll get into, is the Unreal 4K action cam. Now, when we're not shooting in 4K, I'm actually only recording this in 2K, but it also has 1080p 60 frames per second. 2K and 4K are only 30 FPS. Depends on the way you're exporting it, but right now I'm just using a 3.0 cable. And 4K I was finding was getting a little laggy, but for a $70 action cam, that's really asking a lot. 2K looks fantastic. As you can tell, the field of view is huge. This is a 170-degree field of view. For comparison, the Brio, which is about a $200+ webcam, only has 90 degrees. So you get a full extra 80 degrees of view for a fourth of the price. That's a pretty damn good deal. Now you may be wondering how well it handles detail, especially if you get closer to the camera. I would say it handles it pretty well. You can also use an action cam like this for a room view. It's not all sunshine and rainbows though. This miracle cam does have a few caveats that I think you guys should be aware of. First off is the latency. It kind of depends on how you're exporting the video and how you're streaming it. If you are using this as a streaming cam versus a just a YouTube camera. But if you're exporting it, especially at a higher rate like 4K and 2K, you may have to adjust the latency of your mic so it syncs up with your audio. I luckily did not have any issues while I was recording this, but just be aware that is something you might have to do. The other thing is that OBS and potentially other streaming software, I haven't really tested with other ones, may not recognize this as a webcam. Now, what that means is instead of usually just double clicking on the source and configure video, you actually have to edit the look and feel of the camera on the camera itself or in filters. Now, this is not a big deal. It's just something you need to be aware of. It's really easy to customize, and I'm still able to get the look that I wanted very easily. Verdict time. Do I think this is better than the C920? Yes and no. It kind of depends on what you want to do with it. If you're looking for a webcam that gives you a great field of view because you have a space worth showing off, 100% yes. If you're looking for something closer cropped and a little bit more user-friendly, I say the C920 is probably the way to go. Now, even if you do use a C920 and you want a different angle or you want a little more flexibility in your shots, I still think this is a great piece to pick up. It's super cheap. There's so much you can do with it. And ultimately, if you decide that you want to go the cinematic route, this is a great option. And one last important note for these cameras. No matter which camera you pick, no matter how expensive it is, if you don't have good lighting, it's gonna look like shit. So, before you even think about upgrading your camera, make sure your lighting is on point. I threw a couple links down below of the LED panels I use and have been very satisfied with. They're small, but they produce a lot of light. They have flexibility in terms of brightness and color temperature, and they don't get hot after long periods of use, which makes them really handy for streaming. There you have it, guys. The C920 versus the Unreal 4K Action Cam. Now, I've put everything I've talked about in the links below. They are affiliate links if you feel so inclined to pick them up and help support the channel. But I really hope you guys got a good idea of other options out there. Now, I have not looked at every action cam under the sun. This is just what I found to be a good budget option. You can use GoPros, you can use other things. Just make sure you do your research first, or you have a good return policy with the store you're buying from. Thank you again for watching the video. If you liked it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below if you want to see more videos. I release one video a week, and it's a kind of a toss-up right now what exactly that video is going to be as I try and find my rhythm in this whole YouTube channel, but I can assure you it will be awesome. Take care, have a great rest of your day, and keep rocking.